Hello, and welcome to the Divine Darkness podcast, where we are going to walk towards the light together, bringing in more awareness, opening our abilities, and discussing all different realms of spirituality. Take a seat, open your heart, and get ready for this energetic shift to happen.
Welcome. So today we're here to discuss spiritual signs, synchronicities, and all things that are premonitions from our intuition, what is led to guide us to where we see our messages too, because they're all coming in different avenues, whether you see it, feel it, dream it. I feel there's so many different avenues that it can happen. And going back, this is something that I've just kind of uncovered, going back to, I guess, the beginning or somewhere where you've experienced, if you wrote it down, is so beneficial to review sometimes, because I think with the journey that I've been going on, speaking for myself, I didn't necessarily forget the connections and the premonitions, but it helps to revamp and to kind of remember and to reminisce and to understand that they're actually happening in your life to present now. We just might not see it the way we did then. So I personally took out my journal dream book that I write. I started writing in 2020, which is not that long ago, but I kind of stopped, and I feel the call to go back. I think I stopped. It was the last one that was documented was 2023. Now, this is just written down. I also do keep in my phone, because it's just easier, recordings, but I don't like it. I like to write it down. I am a person that wants a book. I want that hand held. I'm so not digital. I'm not tech savvy. So I'm like, no, take me back to the old days. It's funny too, because I'm obsessed with like old books. So there you go. That probably is why I just want it written down. So anyway, whatever feels aligned to you, but more importantly, when you do work in the dream state, this is one thing that I teach everybody, is definitely writing down every little sign, dream. Even if you feel like it's not necessarily a message, writing it down helps you remember the ones that are going to give you a little more detailed, and it'll bring in tenfold, 10 more, vivid, if you will, more vivid dreams. So yeah, I feel like what I want to discuss and share with you is the more recent stuff, and maybe someone can see how that can look, because this is a little different than what I would experience when I was writing the 2020 and so on, as far as premonitions go with my spirit team. This one that I experienced was something to do with my car vehicle, and I feel like I've told you this, Ashley, where I, for some reason, I think it was in May, or maybe listen, I don't, the dates, who knows? I don't even know. But I was driving. Every time I got in my car, I was seeing a vision of someone in my rear view hitting me. And it wasn't, this is another thing with discernment, is it wasn't fear-based. So I know that sounds kind of weird to see that vision and not feel fearful, but because I've trained myself to not instill fear in those types of visions or messages or intrusive thoughts, I feel like I knew that it was discernment of like my spirit team prepping me for a possibility. And I know that from practice because of what I've experienced as a young child and so on, with the things that I would be shown, that it's not fearful, it's helping. So I was more aware driving. And I was like anticipating the worst. I will not lie about that. I was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to embrace when someone's around behind me. I felt like this could happen right now. Is this it? Is this it? Is this it? Well, thankfully, it wasn't too bad at all. It wasn't bad at all. Thank God. So it was just a little warning where I was more aware of it happening. And somebody did end up rear-ending me, but I was parked. So a week later, I was picking up my kids in car line. And when they got into my car, as they shut the door, someone rear-ended, like drove into me and wasn't looking clearly. Thankfully, the kids were fine. Everyone was fine, whatever. But in that moment, I was like, aha, this is it. Thank you. Okay. I was aware. I was very cautious driving that whole week. I was alert. Um, so I not acknowledged it and honored it. And then as I was driving, I just felt this presence of like, almost like I got to pull over. What's happening? What's happening? I got to pull over. It was weird. And I pulled over down this street that I've never driven by. And I looked to my left and there's an owl statue. So the owl is my grandmother, which just recently crossed over in January. And she was sending me signs all the time, owls. So I just was sitting there thanking like the universe, my grandmother, laughing. You know, when I get signs like that, I laugh. I'm just like, haha, this is so funny in this human experience. Thank you for that rare end. Like, and then another one that wasn't too long, I would say about 2 months later, with the same situation in the car, I was seeing a premonition every time I got in, or the first moment I got into my car, I felt or I saw this vision of and heard, you're going to be on the phone with your sister while someone or while you get into a car accident. And I was like, at that moment, I was like, that's weird. No, because I'm never on the speaker. I don't talk to my family in the car. I don't even talk to anyone in the car, to tell you the truth. I didn't ever use my Bluetooth. Like, I'm not like, I wait until I get out of my car. I just don't like to be on my phone. Well, something told me, call your sister. And I was like, okay. Well, I called her. Nothing happened, thank God, on the way to this sound healing that I was in. I went to the sound healing, got out of that. It was evening, 7-ish, and the roads were kind of slippery because it rained. And my sister calls me and I put her on speakerphone. I'm like, all right, I'll talk to you. It's fine. I already called her earlier. It's okay. We'll speak, which is something I never do, mind you. But I'm cautious, I'm aware, and I'm acknowledging my driving, my presence of everything around me. And as I'm driving, we're talking, and somebody in front of me just decides at a green light, just decides to fully stop, full-fledged stop with their blinker on. And I'm like, in the moment, like, like, oh my God, fuck, fuck, fuck. And I was like, God, like, no, please, 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 like, no, please. And I called my spirit team in. My sister is on the phone with me. What the hell's happening? And I turned my wheel so, I mean, I was like a hair away from slamming into these people because they didn't move.
Mm.
They didn't move. And I was just like, a miracle just happened again because I did not. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. But my sister was like, what is going on? That is wild. And I go, I literally thought this before you called me. I had a vision of this happening. And at the end of the day, that to me was my spirit team showing me that we can have fearful things that they show us, right? But it doesn't mean that it's fearful. Like you don't have to fully embody the fear. You can embrace the acknowledgement and bring it into awareness of what do I need to be cautious of, not stressed about, not worried about, not nervous or anxious about, but embody the 3D experience of what can I do to help myself in this situation. Now, this is new to me coming from someone that is always in the light, right? And as you know, I've been on that journey of the darkness. So I'm not surprised that this aligned with my life because my life as a child, I would see dark. I'm saying dark, but it's not dark. It's more of like fearful things as a child, which I suppressed and didn't and ignored because I didn't want to see that possibility or feel that possibility as a kid or a teen. So as an adult, now they give me a second chance. Now I'm like, aha, I see this. And so that just a little snippet of that experience really shined light on how to navigate visions to know the difference between a fear-based feeling because we have those fear-based thoughts, right? Of obviously what, oh my God, this is scary. Why am I thinking this? You have to use your discernment of what your spirit team is trying to, or you have to trust too what your spirit team is trying to show you. So with that being said, I just wanted to share those two briefly. And do you have any questions or thoughts or anything you wanted to share with that experience? Because I know that premonitions are common with clairvoyants and mediums.
Yeah, so my premonitions are less helpful. My premonitions are random. And it's kind of just like for me, they're like, this is gonna happen, and we're just telling you now. And often, like, I would have a lot of premonitions as a kid. Like when I was, I don't know, like 10, there was just one day I remember thinking, I have two sets of grandparents, but one got divorced and married my step grandfather. And I was like, and unfortunately, the grandfather that she divorced, he and I have not always had the best relationship. He was super religious and just didn't fit with me. And I was like, one day I was just like playing in my room and I was like, he's gonna be the last one to live. He's gonna live the longest. He's gonna outlive all my other grandparents and he's gonna do it by a long time. Here we are. He's still alive. All my other grandparents are passed, and it's been quite a while since they passed, and he's still kicking. And I just would have random things like that as a kid. Um, let's see, I'm trying to think of a most recent one. Most recently, like with my boyfriend, like this was like last year, I will just be doing something. I was cleaning my closet and he hadn't come to my house yet. And I was cleaning my closet and I grabbed this coat of mine and I just said, oh, he's gonna love this coat. I don't know why I thought that. He's not like a fashion guy. But he came over and I was like giving him a tour of my house and he grabs my coat and he's like, I love this coat. And I was like, okay, cool. And then there was another time he went on vacation and I hadn't heard from a couple for a couple days. And I'm going just cleaning my room or something. And I was like, he's gonna send me a photo of him, but it's not gonna be like his face. It's just gonna be like part of him. And he's on a balcony and I can see the ocean and I can see palm trees. And then literally 2 days later, he sends me just a photo, nothing else. He doesn't say anything else. He just sends a photo and it's him sitting on a balcony. All I can see are his legs and there's the beach and there's palm trees. And I told him, I was like, I saw this. I saw you were gonna send me this photo. And he's like, stop it, you didn't.
So my question would be, do you see your premonitions and feel them the way you would with your intuition if you were to like just have intuition? So do you feel that they're coming from you and your intuition or your guides? Like, do you feel like it's a separate thing? I'm curious to how that feels for you.
I don't know. I think they're pretty similar because I think it's when I'm like zoned out, I'm not really focusing on anything and they
Yeah.
just like pop in. So it's
Yeah.
not like I was already thinking about this. It's just a completely random thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like every time I've had these things, it's just like out of nowhere. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to think. And then sure enough, it happens.
Yeah. It's
The
almost
only
like we know the higher self is showing us this thing that already happened, right? So to
Yeah.
speak, in this multidimensional energies. So this is also something very, very recent that I just experienced, and I'm going to share this with you. So on, and I don't, yeah. So anyway, on what was it, Tuesday? I don't know, someday last week, Monday or Tuesday. Um, for some reason, my son came home and we were talking, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I saw," and I guess because of 9/11, actually, that very well could have been. But anyway, he was talking about Abraham Lincoln history. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's amazing. And then I just, something like, because he told me a fact, and I thought in my head, oh my gosh. And I was like, how weird is assassination? And I was just like going down this rabbit hole in my head. And I'm like, why am I randomly thinking about assassination or like random things that I don't know. It was just like this deep rabbit hole. And I mentioned it to my husband after, not to my son, but I mentioned it to him. And now then the next couple days that happens, we'll just
Yeah.
say that experience of last week, I couldn't sleep. I was having like, there was a collective dense energy, and this is something that's undeniable if you're an intuitive or if you're someone tapped into the collective grid, right? I felt something shifting, something happening. I didn't know what. I just knew that that was a weird thing to think of or even to have that conversation with someone and then to have something like that happen. I'm not someone that ever predicts like the world stuff or even goes into that realm. I'm not intentionally doing that. Like that was totally not random either, right? But something from outside of me. And I think it kind of spiraled into this thought of like, the premonition or the feeling of like maybe realigning to what I was thinking or what or why I was feeling the way that I was, right? It kind of gave me reassurance of I wasn't stressed. I didn't drink too much coffee. Like, because I'm like trying to figure out why was I not able to sleep all last week? What was this? And I'm like, aha, click. Okay. I was feeling this timeline shift. Obviously, we were experiencing the eclipse, like, and I get that there's so much going on. But I feel like with that, that was something that was very recent as far as like a premonition. I will say too, my sister, so it's been happening actually now that I think of it more and more than I experience. And that's why I'm having this conversation, is because the more we talk about it, the more we realize that it's in our waking day so much, like so common. And if you just open up that field or even acknowledge it, you start to see all of these other connections and synchronicities and what does it mean to you. One of them was, this was like so random, but I was driving in the car. Mine seemed to be in the car. Um, I was driving in the car and I thought of this guy that my sister dated 14 years ago. What in the hell? Why? Who and why? I think I met him once because I didn't live there. And I thought of him and I was like, that's weird. I got to ask her, like, what's up with that guy? Like, is something going on, And I forgot to mention it to her. Well, today she sent me a message going, you won't believe this. Da 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 da. She connected back with him, circled back with him. Something they were talking about a situation that was going on in their lives and circled back to talking to him today. I was like, hold the fuck on. What? I go, I literally thought of him last week in the car, and I've been meaning to say to you, how is him? How is he? What happened? Because he had like a heart
Mm.
condition and he's fine, but it was just so random, so weird. And that was another thing that I was like, why am I getting these things from other people, right? Or outside of me? What was the purpose of that? I guess to tell me that something was going to happen. I don't know that one, to tell you the truth, too deeply. I don't know. It's just I know that it happened and that I acknowledged it.
I think
Um,
for me, because like a lot of my premonitions aren't helpful. I think they're just kind of spirits, kind of funny way of being like, you are connected. Okay, like this is real. Because sometimes,
well,
we all go through those doubts of like, am I really channeling?
yeah,
Like, is this for real life? Am I just in psychosis? Am I crazy? And it's just
yeah.
like those little things, spirits like, No, you're tapped in.
And
This
that's the
is
thing. That's what
real.
I was, yeah. And that's a good point, because it's not that you're needing to prove why or what's happening or what the reason is or explain deep of like analyzing it. It's like you said, it's to confirm that you are connected, that you are listening to your intuition too, that you're connected to your intuition, that you're feeling it and you're actually being able to feel your own emotions and your own energy. Now, obviously, as a energy empath and collective energies, we can feel dense energy from outside of us. Yes, I'm aware of that. Um, I've just been focusing more and more when there's things collectively outside of us to make sure that my boundaries, my energy clear, my energy is connected. Calling back my energy often, frequently too, is extremely important. I've been feeling like that's like something that is so necessary for us right now in empaths. If anyone is feeling like heavy energies from outside of us and in looping thoughts or looping patterns, or just feeling like, blocked would be one. That would be my thing, is feeling into the callback of your heart chakra and ground more than ever if you're struggling to like feel your intuition or connect to your intuition. Um, I feel like with premonitions too, like I feel like I had one that I wanted to share. I'm gonna look for a second, but what
Yeah,
was that?
while you look, I
Oh,
can.
I
Oh,
remember. I remember. I don't even need to find it. I'll look for a minute, but I'm gonna start it and then I'll look. So, okay, so this was my beginning of journey. Yes. What was the date? October. Okay, so October 20th. 2020. So I met, so for a long time I was meditating. I was practicing deep diving, meditating, clearing my mind, and really connecting to my intuition around that time frame and being very more aware of my mediumship. I was meditating and I was doing readings, like mediumship readings for close friends, close family, and just kind of learning. I didn't know anything really on energy work yet at that point. Like I wasn't deepening my like I didn't have strict boundaries, but I was having this vision every time I meditated of this woman that I had no idea who the hell she was. She was not a spirit. She assured me that she was not deceased and that there wasn't a message for someone, because I'm like, well, Who are you? Why am I seeing you every time I close my eyes? Literally for what was it? I think I wrote it down 3 weeks. Okay. I went to Orlando on the third week. She wasn't aggressive. She was lighthearted. She was just calm presence. And I'm like, she's not my guide either because she looks different. So I just kept on seeing this woman and I'm like, oh my God, okay. So 3 weeks later, I go to this place in Orlando to get a reading from a woman, and she has this like mask, or like not a mask, but it was a face wrap.
Like a
So I sit
hijab?
down, I don't know, like a kind of like like an Egyptian or like type of
Yeah,
face
I got
mask.
to.
Is
Yeah.
that, yeah. And she sits down with, I sit down with her and she's doing my reading, and she's picking up my uncle. And that was the first time I ever connected with my uncle, or anyone that's connected with my uncle. So that was a really beautiful connection. She gives me her card when I leave, and I go home, come home, whatever, everything's fine. I go to look on her page and I was like, holy shit, this is the woman that I've been seeing, because I could see her face on her page because she had
Yeah.
covered when I met with her. So I
Yeah.
couldn't see her. And I have chills talking about this because I remember seeing her page. I found it and I realized it was the woman in my mind. And I could not believe. So I connected with her immediately and told her my story. And she goes, I'm not surprised. This is how spirit works. And I was just like, wow. So talk about like the right time at the right place. Um, and at the moment I had no idea. I just wanted this face to leave. Like I was just like, okay,
Tired
please.
of seeing you. Who are you?
She left, she went away once I realized, connected the dots. But that was, so I don't know if you would call that a premonition, or I don't know what that was at the time
Yeah.
either.
I
It,
can I can relate to that. So like my current boyfriend was my boyfriend of like 10 plus years ago as well. And I remember the first time I saw him, like I could not stop looking at him. Like it was like I recognized him
mm,
and it was weird. And I was just like, I don't know what it is. And we were friends for a long time. And then eventually we got together. It was a very short, chaotic relationship at that point in time. But when I decided, we can't do this right now, both of us are not in a healed good place, I decided to end things. And when I was leaving him, I was like, this is not the end of our story. And I thought that for years. I eventually met someone else, got married, and even throughout those years, I would have random dreams of him. And in my
mm,
dreams, he would always be trying to get my attention. So, like, there would be other males in my dreams who were like, I don't know, flirting with me. And then he would come up out of nowhere, essentially push them away and get my attention. And he always succeeded. And they're always great dreams. But I always felt back 'cause, like, I'm with someone else,
mm,
like, and I'm happy in this relationship. Like, why am I having these dreams? But there was one dream very specifically. It was, I think, after I got married. It was my husband at the time's birthday party in my dream. And we were like sitting down and we were like about to eat and have a party at a restaurant. And my ex-husband sits down, I sit down next to him, and then out of nowhere, he appears in front of me and he sits down right in front of me. And I'm like, why are you here? Like, why won't you leave me alone? And the whole time, again, like I'm trying to focus on my husband because it's his birthday and he's constantly trying to get my attention, redirect it to focus on him. And I was like, stop it.
that energetic attachment too,
Yeah.
and that
And
astral
then
traveling. Yeah, it's
and then
definitely
after, I decided to tell my husband like I again things related to him kind of led up to me telling my husband I need to get divorced. It's a very weird, strange story that I don't particularly feel like sharing. But there was an incident that he was connected to me ending up having to tell my husband, I'm not happy, I want a divorce. And then after that, I started having dreams of him again because I hadn't had dreams of him for a long time. I think that dream with my husband at his birthday party was the last dream I had of him for a long time. And then I started having these dreams like, he had cancer, he was sick, there was like something wrong with him. And in one of my dreams, he's like, I'm sick, but I'm getting help, and I don't want you to have to feel like you have to help me. Like, I just want you to be there to support me. And I was like, okay, sure, of course. And then, not to air his business, but when we reconnected, he was not in a good place and he was sick and he did need help. And, I did help him get to that place of where he is now. Like he's 180% better now. Like he's done so much healing in that point. But it was crazy because I told him, I was like, I was literally having dreams that you were ill. And it was like something that you couldn't control. Like it was like in your DNA, like you couldn't control it. And he was like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. And he's not a spiritual guy. Like when I first told him when we first reconnected and I told him like I do like mediumship and like he's laughed. He's like, there's no afterlife. Like that's bullshit. Like none of that's real. And I was like, okay, buddy, whatever. And then, now he's like connected. Like now he believes, okay, there is a God. Like there is something more than the just this earth. And I was
Yeah.
like,
It
absolutely.
and it's interesting too, his higher self connecting to you, your higher self connecting to his in the dream state. It's nothing at the end of the day, it's bypassing their conscious waking day, right? He has no recollection of that, but his higher self does. And it's interesting to see people kind of come to that awakening, obviously, or that spiritual connection too, where without even having to do anything, without even having, because being connected, that what those dreams were referring to and what that meant. And it was almost giving like his higher self was coming to you to give you answers that you needed that you might have thought subconsciously or carried. And I think it's extremely important because that happens a lot for sure in the dream state. I think with the dream state, now that we're on that topic, has been life changing, I think, for a lot of people, especially that I've known and relationships that I've developed that needed assistance in going, bypassing, and connecting with the higher self has been really mind blowing for healing. And I do a lot on that and I believe it deeply. I feel like that has shown me such different worlds. There's one thing that I wanted to share that I found back in like I think it was same era, 2020. I was having a lot of dreams where this would be a premonition, of course, because at the time I wasn't sure, but I was seeing a lot of transitioning in my dream state, and I was being told by my guides that I was an end of life, or I didn't even know what an end of life doula was, so it wasn't even that wording. It was here, you are here, you are the light, you are transitioning these people, they're dying, you're here. And so they would show me and I would be light, like a soul. And then I would see people, one person alive, one crossing over. And I was meant to, and my guides were telling me you're meant to help them cross over together so they meet their loved one. And I was like, this is insane. I woke up thinking like, I am helping missions in my dream, people cross over. And then my mentor at the time was like, Erica, or I'm sorry, my sister was like at the time, because she was a birth doula. And she said, Erica, that's a death doula. And I go, what the hell are you talking about? I didn't even know what a death doula was. I didn't even understand what that was. And she goes, you're literally dreaming of what death doula does. And so obviously that got my wheels turning. I went in deep dive into the death doula industry and became one because I felt so called. Like it was like spirit was showing me through my dreams what I was going to experience. So on top of that, they would show me what crystals I needed to use. I had no idea what any crystals meant, what they were. You couldn't tell me, what is this crystal? I had no idea. I was being shown, use this crystal for this. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, okay. And I wake up and Google it. And it's real, Amazonite's real, or, clear quartz, whatever the one amethyst, whatever it was at the time. And I would be like, this can't be. And so my daughter started having dreams at the time too, where she would be like, Mommy, we went crystal shopping. And I was like, what? So, of course, let's go crystal shopping. So we started going on that venture with the crystal shopping. And I feel like my higher self, the premonitions, what we see, how we experience premonitions is a prep for us in our future timeline. And it does assist, even though it can be some of them are very small, some can be big. It just depends on how you experience it and what's going on in your lifetime, and if it's necessary. Another one that was very profound was So the end of life for sure was something I'll never forget, that dream in my mind. But I was also being shown light language as well as things that I didn't know. I didn't know what light language was. I was being shown that. And then I was being shown that I was working with guides of now I know there is such thing as dream missions, but this was different because it was relating to my path. They were teaching me and showing me light language, but also Reiki healing. So like healing with my hands. I didn't know that I was going to go learn Reiki at that moment. I didn't know, but of course I woke up. What does this mean? How do I deepen it? And then I learned about Reiki healing. So I am someone, and this is perfect example. I am somebody that learns by my experiences, right? And then I search it. Where I have friends, I have a good friend that we're the complete opposite. She's like, I want to learn everything and then I want to experience it. Where I'm like, first I want to experience it and then I'll maybe learn it because I don't necessarily trust it so much. But so anyway, there's certain types of different people, right? And I feel my dreams have led me so deeply connected to my guides and to my mission and to my purpose. And I want others to be able to have that access. And that's why I love teaching anything on dreams or helping people decide what their dreams and decipher what their dreams mean and what their guides are trying to show you, whether it's a conscious clearing, subconscious block, if there's something from your past life. I was being shown my friends' past lives in my dreams that I was unintentionally doing, but I would see people that were close to me, I would see their past lives and wake up and be like, this is something we need to clear immediately. What is this? Let's get rid of it. So the dream state is going to be probably, I would say for me, one of the most premonition, that's not a word, premonitional, but most where my premonitions came from would be the most in my dream state. Obviously now I don't get many in the dream state. I'm more waking. So that's another shift. We can remember that we go through shifts. It's not always going to look the same. And I was talking about this yesterday with everyone. Um, that your dreams, I mean, your whole journey can be different, right? Like we have to remember that I don't freak out because I don't see all these premonitions anymore in my dreams. I'm like, well, show me, Spirit's showing me something different. Okay, cool. I'm experiencing it different now. My days and my version of who I am, it's different. But it is nice to look back and to see in my journal and go back into your, dream journal, intuitive reads, whatever you write down, your connections with spirit and your synchronicities. It's good to look back and just kind of in that space of like, oh, wow, that was so cool what I went through with spirit and that appreciative energy of like being grateful for that experience because I definitely forgot. I went through the dark night of the soul, and you're not going to hear all that stuff in the dark night of the soul, the light, fluffy, awesome, beautiful connections that spirit shows me and how connected and beautiful and light and nothing, nothing was traumatic. I didn't have to experience anything besides, yay, my business and my path is going so good. And then it's like, hold on, hold on. We're going to rip that all out from you and take you down the road that you haven't been down.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't spiritual bypass. Like every time I see someone who's like, "Oh, you just have to be love and light all the time." I'm like, "Baby, you have not done the work." Like I have an opposite experience as most people have. Most people do, they go into the love and light first and then they get their ass kicked by the dark,
Yeah.
night of the soul. Mine, I started with the dark nights of the soul over and over and over and over. And so my transition is different, but it has given me the discernment to sniff out people who are disingenuous and people who may have ulterior motives who are using the light for not good intentions because
100%.
I can see their darkness because I am well versed in the darkness and I can see it very quickly and very easily in people that a lot of times they don't even see it in themselves yet. And that's kind of been an issue a lot of my life is I see people's darkness before they can recognize it. And then not so much anymore. I've learned to kind of keep my mouth shut, but I've always been very like the person who will point out the elephant in the room, especially if I care about you and I think you're harming yourself. Some people have taken that and they've loved me for it. Lots of other people have taken that and hated me for it. But eventually, I realized that, well, I used to not do it as nicely as I should have. I was very aggressive, but like, this is where you're fucking up and you need to stop. And they're like, completely don't want to be, they don't want anything to do with me again. And usually when I get to that point, it's because I'm very frustrated with them because I tried to say it nicer. and they're not ready to hear it. And I didn't understand that for a long time. Like it's not my job. Like I wanted to plant the seeds, water the seeds, and see them grow all at once in this person. That's not my job. My job is to gently plant the seeds if I think it's to their benefit, and then whatever happens after that is none of my business. I kind of felt entitled to seeing them grow past that point, and that's not, I don't get to be entitled to that. And that was a hard thing to learn. Like I could see where these people needed to grow. And like I don't know if you call it premonition, but I can see like the trajectory. You know the word I'm trying
I
to
know
say.
what you're saying.
I could see different paths very easily. Like, oh, who's the guy? Doctor Strange. I've always been kind of like
Mhm.
Doctor Strange, where I can see like if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. And I've done this with lots of
Doctor
things.
Strange is my favorite, by the
I love
way.
Doctor Strange.
My kids
And so,
ask me, who's your favorite? I say Doctor Strange. You
yeah,
should know this by now.
absolutely. And so I'm like, I can see if you do this, this happens. If you do this, this happens. I'm like, so pick this option because if you don't, this is going to happen. And, it is not my journey to make sure they go down the right path. It's, more for me to be like, okay, I see this. If you're open to hearing that, awesome. If you're not, awesome. It's your journey.
Yeah. And I think it's extremely important to factor into where each dark night of the soul is going to look different. Now, I experienced a deep dive in darkness. Now, that doesn't mean I did not experience healing prior to that. I will reiterate that. That was totally my inner child healing was prior to that. And it was completely different than my dark night when I went through that because it was, so to speak, my teen, right? It wasn't my inner child, where my inner child felt supported, where I was still connecting in a deeper sense of not so much darkness, if that makes sense. Mine was when I was more in the teen years. So I feel with the way that things go, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a better avenue to your healing, right? And I think I just want to clear that because we have to remember too, every little increment of healing you do is enough. And I don't ever want to make anyone think that, oh, I'm not at this dark place yet. I didn't heal. No, it's time. It's baby steps. I have full chills over that. It's because that was something that I really needed to remember too. Because when I went into my my mentorship with this woman and I wanted to become a spiritual coach, be able to help people that I did mediumship reads with, I went in thinking I'm here to help someone else. I just want to get the goods for someone else. I don't need to heal. Well, I healed my inner child through through that program. I healed my inner child with these women, and it was perfectly aligned with what I needed in that moment. And I never look back thinking like, oh, I should have done it deeper, or oh, it wasn't dark enough, or oh, it wasn't hard enough or hardcore enough, or I didn't experience what everyone else is talking about. I feel like that's so important to acknowledge because there's so many stages, just like when you walk in the light, there's so many stages of higher light, right? And light, if that's just in a certain level of frequency, you can come up and down. There's no right, wrong. There's no, your path is so individual, like customized to you and what your higher self wants you to and what willing to allow. And so, with that being said, when experiencing the inner child, going into the space of holding space for everyone else was just enough portal. It was a portal open just enough to be able to collectively heal a good amount of people. And then going into this hermit mode where I'm ready now to shut down. I'm ready to connect deeply. And then now I'm ready to connect open and deeper tenfold on my next mission and with humanity and what I decide to do with my work. And I feel like that doesn't mean next year I'm in the clear. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't mean any of that. So like I know that I could be even in a stage of maybe just a small little healing, or maybe there's a little deeper layer. Maybe there's a lot of past life stuff that is going to pull up that I have no freaking idea of what. Or maybe there's some karmic lessons that are going to unfold, right? We're here to experience it all. And with that being said, I just want to declare that because that was something that I thought about. And I just know that if anyone's listening, experience.
Absolutely. And like, I've had baby dark nights of souls and I've had super crazy intense, like, I don't want to live any more dark nights of the soul. And spirit has given them to me at different times because they give me the heaviest ones after I've been through so many small ones because they know I can handle the deeper, darker shit now. Like, I remember it was the end of 2023 or the very beginning of 2024. I was like, Spirit, I feel so healed. Challenge me. Guys, do not ask unless you're ready to receive.
Well,
Like,
that's what Machi was just saying. Machi,
I,
she just
yeah,
said that.
I love my boyfriend, but he has triggered so much shit in me that I thought I had healed that I did not. And,
Mm.
I used to think people triggering you were like bad. Like, people are like, oh, you can't trigger me, like, stay out of my life. And that's almost in a way keeping you, no, he's not like abusive, like, not kind of
I
those
understand what you're
triggers.
saying. He's testing you to
He's
challenge
testing me.
your.
And like, he's testing like old wounds in me, like deep childhood wounds in me that I thought I handled and I didn't. Like
You should be
abandonment.
able to, you should be able to have a healthy
Yeah.
conversation with your partner and be able to
Yeah.
grow healthy relationships with what bothers you because they should be bringing things out in a healthy way to make you aware. People come into your life for that reason. Now, obviously, toxic stuff is completely different. Unhealed wounds, we're talking healthy relationships. That is a category of they're not meant to just agree with everything you say.
Yeah. And I will say, like, in my marriage, like our biggest issue was we didn't confront things. Like we never fought. Like maybe once a year, once a year.
Mm.
And it was because we both avoided confrontation. We avoided those hard things. And I was like, I can't do that again. So with him, like he'll trigger something and it forces me to immediately like, hey, I didn't like that. Or hey, we need to communicate this way because this is not working for me. Like different things like that is really forcing me to like outgrow these old patterns that I thought I didn't have anymore. And he's like, I feel like people who are really like deep soul connections, like they mirror you so, so hard, like
Yeah.
crazy hard. Like he's literally a mirror for everything I tried to ignore. And I'm the same for him. Like the things I've said to him and shown to him would have made people run away from me. Like I've said less harsh things to people in my past and they've been like, bye.
Mm.
But he stands there and he acknowledges it and he takes it and he grows from it. And I do the same thing with him. And it's like those kind of relationships, like that's that's the healthy kind of triggering that people really need if you actually want to grow. And it's not easy at
And it's
all.
also very important to be able to have an open discussion of differences. And
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that compromising and compassion and having an open discussion of differences and agree to disagree or hear my point, I hear yours, and we can both have valid points and both
Yeah.
disagree. And I think that goes with any relationship,
Yeah.
friends, family, anyone. If you have unhealthy relationships that don't align, then they're trying to show you a big, deeper lesson
Yeah.
to get into the healthy alignment with people around you because it shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be difficult. It should be flow. It should be a mutual thing. And yeah, I think that's one thing that has like shine light on my relationship is in general with all of my friends and family is I can hear you and respect your opinion and non-judgmental and you do the same for me and we will always be on an even ebb and flow
Yeah.
relationship standpoint.
Yeah.
And as long as there's no disrespect and that I'm here forever.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. Like he and I have very just ways of I guess interacting with the world. Like I'm an Aries, I'm in your face, I am very blunt. He's an Aquarius, he's much more aloof. And so when we get to the core of it, we're very similar, but the way we go about expressing things is very different. And that's been something I've had to like come to terms with. Like just because he doesn't express things the same way I do doesn't mean it's wrong or that we're
Oh
not
yeah.
compatible. It's learning like okay, actually, we need to get along with people who are a little bit different than us.
Oh yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like there are two different mindsets in that masculine energy and feminine energy. It's two different mindsets. Like the way we nurture and care is not going to be the exact same that they do, right? It's just
And it's
not.
hilarious because my best friend, like they're the same person. And I used to tell her that I could never date her because the way she emotes is very different. Like I'm very deep, I'm very passionate, and she's much more reserved. And I was like, I can never date you. Now I'm dating someone who is literally her, and it's insane.
Yeah, I would say because Yeah, my husband's very reserved, very compassionate, and very much like opposite of me,
Yeah,
fiery.
like he's very tender-hearted, but he keeps it like guarded.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's how my
yeah.
husband is. I am very fiery, of course, Sagittarius. So, I mean, I am also Italian, so we have a little history with that, but I'm
I'm Irish, so I understand.
I am
We're
not
feisty
gonna
people.
keep my mouth quiet. You know, I will always say how I feel. You will never ever not know how I feel. I do not hide anything.
Yeah,
So, I think it's important to have that balance for sure. But yeah, I think listening to going back to premonitions and intuitive energy and just connecting to your guides and really trusting in what the messages are in your life is important. I think the whole concept of this too is self-reflecting in certain moments of maybe things look different for you and honoring that and bringing that forward and just saying this is how spirit's going to show me and how I'm accepting of it. So how your intuition comes through, how your premonitions come through, more importantly, building a relationship with your higher self and source and your guides is really the best thing to do. And always being in the space of non-judgment to yourself, to others, and just really kind of, I feel it's important, non-judgmental, like thoughts or having those intrusive thoughts too are just extremely important. They're probably going to teach you a lot too if you have those more than often. More often, I would recommend obviously figuring out, going into a deep dive, finding why, what is triggering you, obviously in a healthy relationship too, because like attracts like, and if in that looping state, it can happen. And when you clear your blocks, obviously your intuition comes back tenfold, your guide, you'll be able to discern better. At the end of the day, you're helping yourself, humanity, and everything else around you aligns. So it's extremely important. And to know that your healing journey is the way that it should be, that there's no judgment on how it should look. There's no time push button on off. It's flow and honoring every little tiny stage because there's so much to kind of go through in the journey in the spiritual communities to see. I think when we go through our healing journey, it's hard because we see like where we should be at. And I look back and I think, well, at that moment in my life, that's where I needed to be. Spirit led me with a group of people to heal my inner child. And that's what it was. That's what it was at that time.
absolutely. There's one more thing I wanted to touch on with premonitions versus manifestation. So, like, I would have a lot of, so when I was a teenager, my grandfather had Alzheimer's, and I was like, he's gonna die on my birthday. I was like, he's gonna die on my birthday. And then sure enough, my birthday comes. It's the end of the day. My mom's like, I didn't want to tell you, but your grandfather died today. And I was like, I wasn't even upset because like I knew he was gonna die on my birthday. And at that time, I was like, did I manifest that happening? Like, did I
Mhm.
make him die on my birthday? But it wasn't like something I was intentionally trying to do. So like manifestation, because I see people struggle with this. They're like, I had this terrible thought and then it came true. Did I make this happen? And, when you're manifesting, it's intentional energy that you're putting out that you want to see happen versus premonitions. It's not, I didn't think I want my grandfather to die on my birthday. It was like, I just know he's going to. And so people really struggle with that. Yeah.
It's not fear based. And so that's
Yeah.
what it comes down to at the beginning of this recording is talking about the fear based thoughts. Like I didn't manifest that car accident. I saw that image, felt it, didn't fear it, acknowledged it, thank you. And I think with manifestation, it's an intentional thing. It's a frequency match of like, this is what I'm desiring, this is what I want. But I think throughout our lives, we're programmed or we're disconnected to that difference. So as for example, my daughter and myself, including when I was little, would always think I manifested that, good or bad. And so my daughter says, well, that happened and I manifested it. I'm like, honey, no, that's not. That's just you're being guided. You're just being shown something that happened. And so she's aware of that, but like I still think I can understand because of going thinking back as a child, we didn't
Yeah.
know the difference. But I think
I
even
will,
as an adult,
yeah, I will say though, I do believe you can manifest negative things in your life because if you
absolutely.
ruminate on things, like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give my ex-husband an example. He was always paranoid that I was cheating on him and that I was gonna leave him. never cheated on him. It was because of a past relationship. He was projecting this onto me, and he had done this for years without me even realizing it until the end that I realized how bad he was doing it. And eventually, he ruminated in this so long, I ended up leaving him because I was like, I can't live like this. Like, this is not okay. And so I do think, and that goes to like fear versus not fear. Like, he was
Correct.
manifesting this out of fear,
That's where I was
and
getting
it
at. That's
ended up
why,
happening. It
and
wasn't
there,
like a calm, like, oh, my wife's gonna leave me someday. No, it was a rumination that had been going on for years and years and years.
correct. So you definitely can reloop and thought patterns to create a frequency to put it in your timeline, hands down. But
Yep.
if this is just a one-time thought, it's not a manifestation. It's a one-time intrusive thought, and it's based on if it's fair, you'll know, feel
Um,
it immediate, right? Where when my mother, I had a dream, and when I was about, I think I was like 19, that my mother was in a car accident, couldn't get out. My grandmother that crossed over was in the back seat. Car caught on fire. She couldn't get out. I woke up to find out that it was actually true. Like that was a premonition. I thought I dreamt things and that was happening.
yeah.
Like I would have dreams of someone dying and then they would die. So I didn't understand the difference. I just assumed anything fear based was a, manifestation. I did it. I did it. I did it, And I think it's so important to remember the fear is going to be the biggest factor in manifesting obviously negative things too, because I know people that have looping thoughts that think negative things every single day. My life is miserable. I am so unhappy. Nothing works out for me. That's like attracts like for sure. That's if I am thinking a negative thought, it's going to happen. That's hands down known, right? But when it comes to manifesting, obviously, your intentions of like something good happening, you have hold that intention and you're bringing awareness into it. You're creating it. You're the creator. Good or, duality, good or bad. I think with the with the premonitions, it's a slip, slide, vision, and then
Yep.
it's gone, right?
Yep.
Like on the way to school today, my daughter said in this cool little area, well, I'll share this real quick. She said, look at this whole street. I love this whole street. It's very like shoppy, cute, quaint place. And we drive down and she's like, I picture, because she manifests stuff. She sees visions. She goes, I picture, and she's only 9. She goes, I picture my shop there when I'm older selling my jewelry. And I said, I love that you're feeling it, you're seeing it, that you believe it. And I'm like, that's manifesting. That's what you're doing. And that's important to know the visualizations and manifesting something positive in your life that's going to happen. That's not, fear based. So anyway, I wanted to share that because I believe that wholeheartedly, hands down. I've thought that for many years now. And the fact that she said it, you know, those little things we have to remember the power in our thoughts, the power in our frequency, the power that we are the creators. Yes, our guides show us stuff. Yes, our guides and our higher self bring us into alignment into what we need, but we have to become aware of it first. And I think that all comes from healing.
Yeah. And I think certain things are just meant to happen. Like there are just things that are going to happen. Like, I used to wonder if I manifested my boyfriend back in my life, but this was 10 years ago and I just knew our story wasn't over. Like
Contract.
it
Yeah.
was just a gut. And I was like, I don't know if we're going to reconnect when we're 70 or what, but our story's not over. And I don't know how it's going to, come back together, but I knew it was going to. And I tried to push that away as much as freaking humanly possible. And I was like, did I just manifest this back? Because once I like let go and I was like, this is gonna happen. Like I was like, I refused to connect with him. Was not gonna reach out to him because I was like, if this is real, he's gonna reach out to me first, and it's not gonna be because I reached out to him. And I was like, he's going to contact me before my birthday, and I'm not gonna have to do anything for him to do so. And sure enough, 3 days before my birthday, he messages me, and I was like, is this something I manifested or is this something that I just knew was going to happen? And so I feel like that is kind of a gray area for me.
So one thing I guess you would know by discernment over time, but one thing that I can go back to when you're making me trigger a thought pattern when I was little, this is really under kind of odd. I don't know why, what made me think this way, but, and I had no idea about manifestation or anything of thoughts, energy, nothing. I just knew that God was connected to me and I was connected and that I would talk to the voice of God. And I was not religious or anything. I just, that's what I felt. But when I was little, probably 7, I remember all like literally every single day I would say, I just want to be happy. That's all
Mm,
I manifest. Just be happy. But it wasn't that I wasn't, if that
yeah,
makes sense. Like it wasn't like I was not happy. I was just like, I am pulling in this frequency. I knew that that would keep me in an alignment or a frequency of positive energy. And I truly believe that my soul came here to experience that. I don't know how else to describe it. So going into contracts, going into experiences of what we're supposed to be led to in our life, when I look back at it, I'm like, I was supposed to experience in this lifetime to be happy because when I think back of my past lives of what I experienced, and especially being a kid saying that when I had a good, nothing was overly, traumatic. I mean, everyone has their own trauma, but nothing to the point where I could look at someone else and say, wow, I should have been saying that for that reason if I experienced that. It wasn't anything like that. Um, I just knew that if I spoke good things, the good things would happen.
yeah.
So if I thought something negative, I was scared,
Mm,
very scared. So I think as you get older and you use that discernment, I believe that you have a contract with your boyfriend, and I
100.
believe that that contract was more of a premonition internally knowing, if you will, that you just know, right? There's attachments and there's energy connections to people that are not finished, and you just know that the contracts aren't done, and you know the ones that are closed, and they'll continue to come in, but you have to discern of the healthy and versus the unhealthy, like we were talking about, the healthy relationships versus the unhealthy. And we really have to be a clear view on that before we can sit here and say, this is a contract that I need to fulfill. Or is this a contract that you need to close and that's not worth, and you need to learn that lesson and close that? I feel for you, that's why. So I don't know if it would be a manifesting. I feel like you just
Yeah.
knew it.
I
You
think
knew
so
it.
too, because like, so my wedding anniversary it was 3/17, but we got married in 2018. And I always thought our wedding anniversary was 3/18. And I was like, how funny would it be if he contacted me the day after my wedding anniversary?
Interesting.
And then he did. And so like
You
that,
can
it wasn't like
also,
I was like, I want him to contact me this day. I was like,
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
that just be funny?
I do believe, though, sending remote frequency can happen as well. So
Yeah,
going into that, but that doesn't mean you didn't have a contract with them. That doesn't mean
yeah,
that you don't have premonition or like intuitive downloads from this person, because
yeah,
your energy is connected to this person for a reason. And when we have contracts and commitments, we're constantly bound to that. And that doesn't mean that you can't send out frequencies to
yeah.
this person, right?
And I think when
And
I kind of finally allowed myself to be like, okay, I think this is real. I have no really true reason to think this is real, but I think it is. And I kind of surrendered to that. That's when my connection to him went crazy. Like I
yeah,
was feeling his feelings and
yeah.
hearing his thoughts before I ever reconnected him with him. And then when I did, I was like, holy shit, I was feeling what you were feeling at that time. Because I had
So,
no idea anything that was going on in his life. He is not on the internet. I couldn't stalk him. I had no idea what was going on. And I was like, he's feeling these feelings because these are not my feelings. These are not my thoughts. They were his. And it was
so
crazy.
real quick, this is something you're making me think, and then we're going to close. I don't want to be too over the top. But do you know, and not to throw my clients under the bus, but do you know how many people have come to me with contracts of people that they just know that they're not supposed to end? Like that it's people that have come back years later that are just supposed to be. People know, intuitively what contracts are closed, what are open, and if it's healthy or not. And I I think about that because I've had so many, I have not experienced it, but so many people that have experienced a tie with someone that's like, why am I still feeling this energetic connection? And I'll go through the healing, go through the past life, go through the connections of the ties. And it always leads back to unfinished something or connecting to another timeline that could have happened, or like experienced in a past life together and not this one. Um, it's so interesting. We could probably go into another topic on this, another podcast on talking about past lives and contracts. I think that would be pretty interesting.
I know me and my boyfriend have had a
Have
lot of past lives
I was
together.
gonna say I think we might have touched on past lives, but I think contracts and like binds and situations like that, I could definitely share a lot of stories that I've experienced with people, my clients. I just won't say names, obviously, and like close friends too. So yeah, with that being said, I hope everyone has a blessed day. Thank you for listening, and we will be back next time.